She sprung that on us. Almost didn't get my hand on my heart in time.
Oops. Okay, let's go with the meeting.
God, suddenly. Right, what film
Let's
was
camera
this?
action.
So has it been 36 hours or something since we last met? Nearly 48?
I guess
Is that all?
Yeah.
Should we specify that, though? Because it won't be released 36 hours after the last episode.
These are not
Grounding in
broadcast
space and
live.
Yeah, but when you listen to podcasts, you want to think that they've happened very recently, don't you?
Dunno.
You wouldn't watch Mock the Week from 2 years ago.
I wouldn't watch it from last week.
Yeah. Dunno.
Anyway. All
So
about
we rapidly chose All About Eve, didn't we?
Yeah.
I'm glad
Thank
to see
you,
you've got some notes. I have as well.
Thank you,
Yeah.
voter.
Thank you, voter.
Who voted for something else?
Who voted for High School Musical.
Maybe we'll do it one day.
Maybe one day. Yeah. It was a shame. I did actually, once I put the vote, I realised that I wanted Legend or... What was the other one? Count of Monte Cristo, which might be one of my favourite films. In fact, it is one of my favourite films of all time.
Which one was it? Because was it the recent one? The Count of Monte Cristo.
The recent one?
Was it
Probably, actually, yeah. I don't know about-
2002 or something.
Yeah, I think so. It's got
Like, recent
Richard
one.
Harris,
Hmm.
Guy Pearce. Those are the only actors' names that I know. But,
Okay.
but yeah. You know Richard Harris?
Yeah, vaguely.
Yeah, Dumbledore.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
First one.
Now I remember. Yeah, don't know.
Anyway, but we've got All About Eve.
We did.
All About
yeah.
Eve, which I think was a good decision.
It was also about other characters, so the title
was
was
about
misleading.
It did have everything we need to know about Eve, but All About Eve and some other stuff as well.
It wasn't all about Eve, though.
No, it wasn't All About Eve.
Everything kind of revolved around Eve.
Though curiously, she was probably not the character that we saw the most of.
Yeah.
Probably heard a lot more from Margot.
Interesting. Yeah. So I got the DVD of this for my birthday, like 3 days ago or something. I'd never heard of it, so I had very little interest in actually watching it.
Oh,
But-
interesting.
Yeah. Just
Okay.
threw it on there. Please, my sister. Be like, it's in the running.
Yep.
And then, what do you know?
Somehow.
Did you like your birthday present?
I did like it.
Excellent.
Yeah. I wouldn't say I was blown away,
Right.
but I thought it was a good film. I enjoyed it. Yeah, what about you guys?
I liked it, yes. It was a good film.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked it.
I really liked it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I thought it was a great film.
good.
Critics would agree with you.
Critics would agree with me, it's true.
It won like
Oh,
so
yeah.
many awards and
Yeah, Best
Yeah.
Picture and a bunch of other Oscars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Four
well
nominations
received.
for Best Actress.
Yeah.
Like two for Best and two for Best Supporting.
Okay.
Crazy.
And, what's his name? George Sanders won Best Supporting Actor. Who was Addison Hewitt?
Oh. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
I've made a
I suppose
lot
we'll get to
notes.
him. Oh, you have?
Yes.
Oh.
I did not make a lot of notes. I was quite sleepy, so I sort of stopped taking notes at one point and then started making more. I might not have a lot.
Yeah.
I might just have some general.
Where do we start? Where do we start? What a main character.
Yeah. Do you mean Margot or Eve?
I mean Eve.
Oh.
Titular character.
So, what did you think of Eve, Fernando?
What did I think of Eve? I suppose then overall what she was trying to do, which is maybe grow professionally, is something that we all want to do.
Yeah.
She maybe could have benefited from a nicer personality. Instead of trying to be have fake humility, she could have been just genuinely a nice person, and maybe she would have reached the same place or even higher more quickly, or because we are meant to believe that she is a good actress, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if people recognize that, then there's no need to have that behavior.
Yeah, she needn't deceive people to get ahead. She should just be a good actor. Yeah.
So if she ended up in a position where she did not feel comfortable, maybe it was her not recognizing that she was already good, and there was no need to be like the way she was.
Interesting.
I feel like she only managed to get where she was because of the scheming. Because she specifically wanted that playwriter, and she would never have gotten
Richards.
it. Yeah, she would never have gotten it if she hadn't done all of her schemes. Because Margot just would never have allowed her to be her understudy without having gone.
Certainly not with that speed. And,
So it's a lesson that if you do want something, you should manipulate and scheme your way to it.
But she did not have a happy ending, did she? She attained her success, but she was
miserable.
She was,
trapped into sexual slavery.
Yeah.
Although maybe not, as I will come on to.
Yeah, okay, that'll be interesting. Yeah, I was assuming not sexual slavery, but this completely controlled, weird sort of professional relationship with someone. DeWitt. I really liked both Eve and DeWitt all the way through until this sort of weird turning point in the film, where we discovered firstly that Eve's been playing everyone, and also that that Addison is a real nasty piece of work. And that made me think very differently about that.
Actually, in my notes, I've written, they'd be quite good together. At the very moment before, he's suddenly like, oh, no. You're not going to marry her. And I was like, oh my god, he's evil.
Dreadful.
Yeah.
Yeah, really sinister.
Yeah, he was definitely creepy. And...
Also, the voice of Shere Khan.
There we go.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
I couldn't place it, but...
That's what friends are for. One day I want to be able to go low enough to do that.
That's nice.
Bravo. Ah. Cool, I like him even more now. No, that's it. Yeah, I thought we were meant to see him as quite aloof and quite... maybe a little bit cold, the way he had Miss Caswell, who was his up-and-coming protege, Marilyn Monroe, who, as soon as it became clear that she was not getting anywhere in the business, he just kind of dropped her and we never heard from her again. And it seemed like he was sort of scheming a bit to, he was playing the game. But, yeah, I never saw it coming that he'd be so ruthless. And cruel. But nor did I think that of Eve. I think part of the reason I enjoyed her character so much all the way through was she was so innocent and just nice to everyone, and she was everything I hoped that I could be, and utterly not.
Real surprising turn for you then.
Yeah. Jesus.
How did you feel about the other characters? Because I found Margot really dislikable. I just didn't take to her at all.
No, me neither.
I liked her.
Really?
Yeah, I thought Bette Davis played her really well. I was quite interested. I could see why she's annoying. She's a really annoying character, but I don't know why. I found it quite endearing. All of her many rants. I think the film would be about half the length if she didn't go on as many rants.
But she was so cruel. She was so selfish and really having a go at Eve and everything.
Yeah, but she knew that Eve was not to be trusted.
She didn't.
She did. She had
even
a sense.
said while she was doing it, she said, "Oh, I shouldn't be so cruel to Eve. Yes, she's so perfect, isn't she? Little Miss Perfect. Everyone loves her."
Yeah, but she
and
had
then even
sense.
later, no.
Yes, I think
subconsciously, she thought Eve was up to something.
No, it's the turning point came from when Birdie said she's studying you, like she's watching your every move, it's predatory, it's weird. And then suddenly we go from that to now she doesn't trust her anymore. And she had good reason to, because actually Eve was scheming to totally usurp her and take her husband.
As it turned out in the end. I don't know if she had the evidence to make that call, though. I think
yeah, just because you guess the lottery numbers and get it right doesn't mean you knew they were coming up.
Yeah.
I feel like people were gaslighting her the whole way of being like, no, you're crazy, Eve's perfect, she's so innocent. And then, no, but she knew.
But we didn't know, and we were gods observing the whole thing.
I thought, I don't trust that Eve.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
The weird trench coat in the shadows in the beginning where everyone's staring at her so coldly and you can see that she's getting this award and you think, well, that's very bizarre that everyone should be so against her. There's something up with this.
Oh, I just thought everyone was bored of the speech. Oh, that's why everyone looked miserable at the start. Just like, I'm whining on again.
Yeah.
About Thespos or whatever.
I find it very interesting, I guess, the comments that you're making, because ever since the very first scene, I thought that she was the villain.
Oh no!
Yes. I was like, well, yeah, maybe she got this position making all of them really mad. And then the next scene, when there's no longer, they go back in the past, I'm like, yes, she's definitely a horrible person. So I always knew that she was horrible.
Right from the beginning.
Yes. That kind of sense as well.
Wow.
Oh, we watched totally different films.
Wow, it looks like it. God.
And I really hated it. I hated her the whole movie. There was not a point where I thought she was a nice person.
Oh, I just thought she was so sweet and so nice. Oh, God. Who else do I know in real life who's actually out to get me, just scheming and... You laughed a bit too hard there. No, you're alright. You'd have to be playing a very long game at this point. Yeah. Christ.
I feel like I'm in some sort of middle ground between thinking she was angelic and realising she was the devil. Like, I thought this is a bit weird. And also, why is she just like now her closest confidant? How did that happen?
The pacing was a bit weird with the whole film. Like, I think that might have just been like a film issue.
Okay.
Yeah. I felt that was unbelievable, and therefore I was a bit suspicious of the relationship, because she hadn't like built a trust with Margot or anything.
I see.
And therefore it was a bit weird that she trusted her so quickly. But yeah, I just thought it was a bit sad that she idolised this person so much. Because I did think it was genuine, like, adoration.
Yeah, I think so as well.
And it just made me feel sad that she thought so little of herself and so much of this person who she hadn't had time to get to know.
Yeah, okay.
And who was quite horrible.
Yeah. Margot. Yeah. They made a point of showing us how quickly people came to trust her, right? Because the same night they met her, she told this very heartfelt story, and they gave her their luggage and their plane ticket and stuff. Yeah.
Except Birdie.
Yeah, who never
warmed
never
her.
liked her.
Classic Birdie.
I did like her.
Yeah, she was good.
She was the one, like, genuine, trustworthy person in the whole thing. Who was maybe a bit rude at times, but I don't think she was pretending to be anything she wasn't, unlike everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found the pacing a bit weird overall, as I was saying. Like, everything's happened. We don't really get a sense of how much time's passed, but sometimes they would say, like, oh, you've been on it's been a week or something.
Yeah.
So, like, she goes off Eve super quickly.
Yeah, they just share that one look, don't they? And that's it.
And then she breaks up with Bill, like, out of nowhere, I thought. You could see that they had tension and there was arguments, but then suddenly it was just over, and I was like, oh, okay. Fair enough. But yeah, it was strange.
Yeah, I think the pacing was off, definitely. It lost me for a while in the middle. As I say, I was quite tired when I was watching it, and it was just a bit like, I I couldn't have told you whether I was halfway through the film or near the end. So I just don't know. I've lost my bearings here. I think.
It was interesting how Eve, that is, carefully played the people around her that she needed to. I thought it was interesting the two men, Lloyd Richards, the playwright, and Bill Sampson, the director, when Margot was the leading lady, Lloyd was really short-tempered and angry with her, whereas Bill was very accepting. We had this, where they were really falling out, and Bill was lying down on the bed just going, oh, whatever, just more bemused, if anything, while Lloyd was yelling at her and telling her she was just a piano that's trying to pretend it composed a concerto and all this. But then later on, because of the circumstances surrounding Eve's rise to fame, when Eve is the leading lady, they're the other way round. Bill is the one who's really short-tempered with her and telling her off all the time, and Lloyd is the one that's holding it together, and she therefore ends up playing on Lloyd and trying to make Lloyd fall in love with her and stringing him along because he's the person that she needs to... She realises she can't win the other one over. Yeah, I think we saw the same kind of thing a few times. She never tried to work her magic on Bertie.
Bertie.
The maid. Was she Birdie?
Birdie.
Oh, like a little bird. Oh, I thought it was short for Bertha or something. No, whatever.
Birdie is short for something like it's a...
Is it like Roberta or something?
Something like
Oh, okay, Birdie. But yeah, never tried to play on her, but definitely did try to play on Karen, Mrs. Richards, who was one of my
She was
favourites.
sweet. Yeah, she was just good all the way through, wasn't she? Yeah.
I really enjoyed her internal monologue as she was trying to decide whether to deceive Margot or not. And you just there'd be no sound from the scene, but she would just stop mid-paint. Because that's what you do when you have a thought.
I was thinking that and criticising it, and then I was like, actually, you know what? I probably am that. Over the top.
Veering off to the side of the road while you're driving.
Most of my notes, I have to wait till we ring the bell.
Oh, wow.
Okay, interesting. So, did the three of you experience the same thing I did, which was this sudden switch in Eve's character?
I think so. I didn't think she was going to be as manipulative and scheming until the bathroom scene.
Yeah.
And I was surprised.
Presumably including the bit at the start of that scene where she's trying it on with Lloyd. No, she tries it on with Bill, doesn't she?
Oh.
I'm thinking of a different thing.
The first time we ever see it, it's just after her debut as an understudy.
Right, yeah.
After the scheme with the car.
Yeah.
And she bats her eyelashes at Bill and says, oh, isn't it perfect? And he says, I'm in love with Margot. And she says something flirty. And yeah. And I thought that there's no way she would do this, is there? I thought she was completely perfect. And it just all came crashing down completely.
I sort of saw that coming. I wasn't hugely surprised by that, I don't think. Because you could see that she just desperately wanted to be Margot. And I thought that maybe that would include having Bill. I don't know if that's entirely what it was. That she was just trying to replicate in every aspect of Margot's life, or she was just trying to manipulate someone that she needed.
I see.
But yes, I wasn't as surprised by that, but there was something about the bathroom scene when I thought she was not genuinely upset, because I didn't think that, but when she started blackmailing Karen, I was like, oh, that's another level of...
Yeah. Oh, I see.
But yeah, what did you guys think?
No. It was
no surprises.
Finally, her true colours are coming out. Maybe because I've seen a more also TV series and movies about this, and that are somehow similar to this one.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm like, yes. Finally, people will realise.
That's amazing. was cold. So I was still a little unsure about to what extent she had played everyone, or whether to something. So she'd run away from her past life and everything. But did she kind of initially just hope that she could? Because she really was fascinated with Margot and the theatre and everything. She wanted to be part of that whole world. Was she genuinely, humbly trying to just help the people she admired to start with? You think she was playing it right from the beginning? Yeah.
Well, she had that made-up story right from the start.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, she's just willing to do anything.
I don't know, it's a very weird way to become an actress. What a weird plan if it wasn't just beginning out of like this admiration and this...
Yeah,
I suppose but then she did approach Mrs. Richards first.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or Mrs. Richards.
I think evidence for this is precisely the very end of the movie when the same is happening to her through this person that comes. And I think that by then we can, as well, at least I believe that we can recognize that her intentions are evil.
Okay.
And this is just happening to the person that did it in the first place.
Do you think she'll be less gullible?
I do wonder. It's just like, well, then you're trying to fool someone that knows what you're doing.
Yeah.
So maybe she will not succeed. My conjecture is that she'll have less success than she had, and Eve did.
Okay. Because part of the reason something like that would work is the ego massage. The having someone follow you around and say you're great. For someone in the theatre, someone who goes on stage for applause. And she talked about how much she enjoyed the applause.
I see that, but if you're a professional liar, wouldn't you tend to distrust the person? The people that are around
you distrusted her from the start.
Yeah, that is true. Well, I am a terrible person.
I have some more thoughts on narrative device women. Really building the tension here.
I know, I'm excited.
This is all after the bell, is it? Okay. I've got a few thoughts before the bell. There are also a few thoughts after the bell. One thing is I really liked the scene where they were all sitting on the stairs.
Yeah, I like that as well.
There was a nice sort of informality and camaraderie, and I feel like I'm the kind of person who goes to a party and ends up sitting on the stairs, and that tends to be where the best conversations end up happening and where you really get to meet people. And I love that idea of just these like famous elite people just hanging out on the stairs chatting about art and life, and it was good.
Well, that's the conversation they were having, wasn't it? About whether artists are a special sort of person.
Right.
As they sat on the stairs just like normal people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was maybe a bit too knowing.
I think it meant something else.
Is it time?
I don't know if it's time. Maybe I've got something else to say. What were you to say? Oh yes. I really liked all that party scene. And just every scene with Addison before he turned completely evil.
Yeah. He was very watchable, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was basically just Shere Khan if Shere Khan was a person.
I guess so. He's stalking his prey and...
Yeah.
Shere Khan. What else do we have? I think most of the rest of what I've got comes under symbolism.
Oh. Yeah, I've just got bits that annoyed me. Like the taxi waiting outside at the start. That annoy anyone? That she left the taxi waiting.
She did leave the taxi waiting.
And then went in and heard someone's life story. And then presumably went back out and got in the same taxi.
Yeah.
It's expensive.
Are they rich?
Yeah, I guess they didn't have to worry. And they were going straight to the airport afterwards, weren't they?
Well, that was Margot and
Yeah.
Bill.
Oh, so it
It
was.
was Karen who left the taxi. Yeah. There was a weird green screen walking scene.
Yeah.
That was rubbish.
Why would you do that?
That was poor.
I wonder if because it was so long ago, it was difficult to get decent sound dialogue
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
outside of a studio, but I don't know. 1950, so that really was early.
Yeah. There were a lot of breathy voices.
Yeah, I've also got that. Lots of whisper acting.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't notice.
Just that Marilyn Monroe
Yeah.
just breathing through the speaking. Just,
I quite like it.
oh,
Marilyn.
I didn't notice at all.
That's what she said.
no. Eve spoke like that. And
Yeah.
was it Creswell?
Caswell. Yeah.
Caswell.
I did notice that they all had these sort of weird, posh East Coast American accents that sort of sounded a bit British, but were quite clearly not British. And we sort of saw how they were trying to put this on a lot of the time. And it was mostly the characters who thought a lot of themselves. Except, as far as I could tell, Eve, who seemed to be the only one who just effortlessly spoke like that, who just seemed to speak that way naturally, but then later on we think, well, no, she was a perfect actress right from the beginning. But I think we even saw Margot put on some airs as soon as she met her adoring fan, and we even had Birdie come out and say, right, I'll talk to you again when you're normal. I thought that was interesting. And I wonder if I'd picked up more on the finer points of their accents and stuff if I was a native American speaker, because I think there might have been deliberate sort of code switching going on that maybe would have told us something. But most of all, they just talked funny.
They all said theatre funny. They all like embody theatre with this reverence. It's really lame.
It's like when people talk about actors.
Yeah. And in the theatre.
It's spelt with a capital T.
Yeah.
In fact, I noticed a bit that Margot was trying to be really classy and wasn't quite. There was a lot of different little things that she, like at do you remember at the birthday party, somebody says to her, oh, it's positively Shakespearean atmosphere in here, it's like the first act of Macbeth, what's going to happen? And she was being all dramatic, and that would have been her cue to say something like, is this a dagger I see before me, and stride out of the room. But instead she said, fasten your seatbelts, it's going to be a bumpy night. Which is the lamest, like, trashiest movie quote anyone could have come up with. And I feel like she viewed herself as somebody who'd have come up with some amazing cultural reference, but actually she didn't have it. She was just good at reading the lines.
She didn't eat her olives either all night. No wonder she got drunk.
Yeah.
All those martinis without the olives.
Oh, that's something I wanted to mention about the martinis. Did you notice that she had a martini before her husband got home, before Bill got home, or rather before she went down to see him?
Yeah.
And it was enormous. It was in this giant glass, almost comically large, and she knocked the whole thing back. And then when he made her one later, it was a third of the size. It was these, like, much smaller glasses, and that seemed to say something about her.
I think that was just because that either it may have been a very subtle act, because like they obviously had loads of glasses in the kitchen because they were having a party, and they would presumably have like bought or rented glasses and stuff.
Yeah.
For that, because there was no way in that small kitchen they'd have had that number of glasses.
Yeah.
So it might just be that the caterer provided small glasses.
Sometimes a
I'm gonna-
cigar is just a cigar. Yeah, okay.
I mean, that is quite a convoluted, just a cigar, but
I suppose so. But yeah, maybe they were just small glasses. But it seemed interesting that the one she made for herself was enormous, and the ones her boyfriend was like desperately trying to keep her under control. They're like, yeah, okay, martini, look, here's a martini. Please don't drink it too
people do that
fast,
to me all the
darling.
time.
I don't think I've ever been accused of pouring people too small cocktails when they come round.
sometimes 2 small cocktails, but never 2 small.
Yeah. Go on, do you want to ring it?
Yeah, Fernando, please.
See, I would do.
Symbolism. What do you got for us?
Right, well, first of all, I'll start by saying I did
Page
quite
one.
a lot of extracurricular reading.
Oh,
she
Journal art. So this
She
film has
tried.
been- I tried really hard. It's been really analysed with a fine tooth comb by many people. And the article I found was in the Journal of Lesbian and Gay Studies, and it made some really good points about the fact that the 2 main villains were coded as gay.
Come again? Who?
So Eve and Addison were
And
both
Addison.
heavily coded as like gay characters.
as much as you
Okay.
could get away with in the 50s.
Yeah. So obviously that was
Oh.
the era of like the Hays Code, where you could have no reference to, gayness or lesbianism
Okay.
on screen.
Right.
So they had to be really careful with like how they portrayed characters.
Yep.
Did you two get this, that they were both coded as gay?
No, but I did think that she could be gay.
I thought when I was watching it there was something strange about her attachment to Margot in a way that was kind of like I could see her being a little bit.
It occurred to me she might be in love with Margot.
Yeah, it occurred to me as well. But I didn't really go as deep into it as
No,
I
me
later
neither.
did with my readings.
But the other relationships were all very, like, patriarchal.
Yeah.
Like, it was so obvious in the other relationships. Like, the man was... There was a lot of standing over women while they wept in a bed and stuff like that. Like,
There were some good grabbing scenes.
yeah, they were very, like, normal of the time, that idea that the men were powerful in sexual relationships.
You think that was something the original audience was not even supposed to notice?
Yeah,
This is just normal.
yeah,
No,
but I think
it was
that...
on purpose. Well,
I feel like it showed up, made it really obvious that something was weird about Eve and Addison, because they weren't involved in these relationships in the same way.
yeah.
Yeah.
Especially given Margot's speech at the end was very, like, purposeful, where it says, I now have to go back to being a woman, I'm going to be married, and a woman is only a woman if she has a man.
Yeah.
In those very specific words. And there's a few other references dotted out where you see what they're doing, where they're constructing her in opposition to Eve, and her relationship with Bill is this kind of patriarchal, heteronormative kind of marriage. Which I don't think it quite comes off because Margot is so camp.
Okay.
Like, she's really, and Betty Davis is like a gay icon.
Yeah.
So I think
Really?
they kind of like fall down a bit when they're like trying to hold up.
I
Which
mean,
is
they
why
didn't
this is,
know
like-
she was going to be a gay icon, did they?
No, they didn't, and they didn't know she would play it like that either, apparently.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying she played it as though she were gay?
I don't know if it was
No.
on purpose, but I got the sense that she was playing it quite camp.
Okay. Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Certainly she was the prima donna, wasn't she?
Yeah.
She was... Yeah. Huh. Yeah, and we were perhaps supposed to approve of her giving all that up to become a stay-at-home wife. Yeah, well, we meant to see that and think, oh, good for her, she's settled down, whereas this
Torag.
irreverent young minx has gone off and is trying to make a career for herself. Yeah, okay.
But again, I think like Margot's personality the whole way through is really outrageous, like very abrasive and very like stands up for herself and things like that. And even though she says that she's renouncing her career, she doesn't attend the premiere and things. In the end, when we see her back at the awards ceremony, she's still all done up in her like glamorous finery and she's having her cigarette and things like that. And it just seems like there's not as much. She's held on to it, I think.
I see.
So it doesn't entirely go all the way that maybe
Let's see.
we're meant to think it does.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then finally at the end, it becomes clear that whether it's a sexual relationship or not, Addison and Eve are in the most patriarchal, male-controlled partnership of the whole film. I don't know what that tells us. How that fits in with them being the two that are not coded as heterosexual.
That's not a sexual relationship, though. I think that's a power.
Yeah.
Yeah, both of them seem to go for power in their relationships rather than any sort of... We don't really allude to sex for either of them.
Yeah. Nor love.
Yeah. In fact, Addison says to her, we're not capable of love or being loved, which I think, again, was kind of coded as, like, him saying, we're both gay. But I don't know. Maybe not.
That's what symbolism corners for.
Any thoughts about
yes,
that?
Yeah.
So, not being able to love is code for gay.
In the 50s, which was apparently like a narrative that was spun by like state and medical sort of professions, that it was this kind of like perversion.
Right.
That meant like it was a pathological kind of medicalized thing of being gay, that it was like this, pathology rather than like sexuality. Or both, really, but like, yeah.
If heterosexual love is the only one that exists, and you're not capable of that, then...
Yeah, and we see their portrayal as like these really emotionless predators, basically.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And the group that you read this from sees that as indicative of the homophobia of Hollywood at the time. Okay.
There's another documentary, I haven't actually seen it, I should watch it, called The Celluloid Closet. It basically like just goes through bit by bit. I've read a bit about it with Kira's film degree, but goes through like all the films of this sort of era, of the Hays Code era, and like they all have this sort of very similar pattern of coding.
Does The Haunting fit in with that? Because The Haunting of Hill House had the gay character who
I can't remember.
Never really.
Oh yeah, Theo.
Yeah.
Theo.
Yeah, it wasn't explicit, was it? But
No.
we did think. Yeah.
And you, again, I didn't get that she was coded as gay or anything like that, but you pointed it out, and she was portrayed as very cold and very very loveless in the film, in a surprising and weird way.
What year was that?
It's now coming into
Can't
context.
remember.
I think that was
60s.
1960 precisely.
Oh right, yeah, because I think the Hays Code extended to 1968, so it
Right.
would have been in that era.
Jesus.
1936 to 68, something like that. I can't remember.
That's horrible.
That's closer to when I was born than the current day.
Wow.
Sure, when did the 68?
Sorry? Oh, the Hays Code. It was a law that prevented any sort of reference to homosexuality on film.
And it was a Hollywood code.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, I should read more about it, but yeah, prevented a lot of open references, which meant that lots of coding took place.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, for instance, Addison, he was very like pristinely dressed always, had a very upper crust sort of accent.
Yeah.
He was very like dry and acerbic. Is that how you pronounce that word? Acerbic. Yeah. And I think one of the other characters describes him as a venomous fishwife.
Yeah.
Subtle.
And in that speech that we mentioned earlier, do you remember when he's on the stairs and he's talking about, he says, we all have an abnormality in common. We're a breed apart from the rest of humanity. Which I wonder if that's maybe a bit...
If he's talking about all of them, then
I
guess
suppose not, but there's still something I think quite striking if you put it in context of everything and in the other films of the era when he says we're abnormal.
it would be tempting
He's
to read
echoing
this
a lot
into
of the
everything he
stereotypes.
says.
Yeah, I
see what you
suppose,
mean.
yeah.
Wow. Okay, that was a good one. By which I mean a slightly like unclean. I watched this film and thought, oh, that was wonderful, and now I'm thinking,
it's still
and
kind
it's
of held
kind
up
of
as
a
like
bit sick.
quite homophobic, but also like a lot of it's quite liked by the gay community. I've read because of how camp Margot is, which I completely agree with.
Right.
Yeah, and the fact that it has gay characters, or I think people perceive as gay, even if it's still
even if they're only
homophobic.
villains.
Yeah.
Huh. Cool.
I mean, I still think Margot was a villain. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought she was inexcusable in most of her actions.
I think they were all villains in their own way.
Yeah. Oh, and the way she smoked was disgusting. Did you notice this? So it was the 50s, they all smoked all the time,
Yeah.
loads of the characters
Even
smoked.
in bed.
Yeah, even in bed.
Very dangerous.
Oh, I noticed you laugh at that, and I didn't get why. Yeah, people specifically say don't smoke in bed. It's really
Yeah.
bad.
Oh, I'm just
When
so
she was like
tired.
half
having-
asleep. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because it can set fire to the sheets and stuff. Right?
Yeah, if you fall asleep.
Oh, and you fall asleep, the lit flame. Yeah. But most of them would smoke. They would take the cigarette or the cigar, and they would breathe in and blow out, and then they'd carry on talking. She'd lazily breathe in and then talk while she was doing it, and there'd be smoke sort of coming out of her nose and her mouth in the middle of each word, and they'd end up with a haze sort of all round her face.
You didn't find that attractive?
All of it disgusting. No, no, I didn't. Why was I supposed to?
I don't know.
It seemed like eating with your mouth open. Just a bit kind of. We don't want to see smoke coming out of your nostrils and your teeth and everything.
Don't want to think about her nose.
Yeah, exactly. If you're going to smoke properly and carry on your conversation. Don't be all gross about it.
Yeah, I wonder
And
if that's...
it seemed like it was very deliberate.
Yeah.
That she was like Cruella de Vil with her from 101 Dalmatians with her cigarette holder and this dirty green smoke that came out all the time. Yeah. What else have you got?
Oh, just a couple more things about how Eve's coded as a lesbian. But
Did Eve smoke? I don't know.
she didn't smoke all the way through, and then she smoked at the end.
Oh. Because she was the new Margot.
Oh yeah.
Did she smoke in a horrible way at the end? How did she smoke?
don't
Like everyone
remember.
else, or like Margot?
She definitely smoked slumped on the sofa, wallowing in self-pity. So in that way
That
she
sounds quite a
smoked
lot
like
like
Margot.
Margot.
But I didn't notice she did the thing with the smoke in her face. Oh, she was good.
Yeah. Let me see.
I had a little. I think this comes under symbolism. Margot and Max are talking, and Eve's gone on just ahead, and Margot's very jealous of Eve. And Max goes on to look after Eve and make sure she gets on okay at the party, and Max says she'll be in safe hands. And she says, Amen, which I think is supposed to be Amen, Amen, as in I agree with that, but I think it's also supposed to be Men. Yes, she will be in safe hands when you're around, won't she? all these men chasing after her. And I noticed a few little lines like that
A few
were...
puns.
Yeah, there were a few little... Not quite puns, but little double meanings and stuff. I wish I'd written down more of them, but there were a few others.
Sorry, I missed them. I love it.
Oh, I should have made a couple of notes. Yeah, a few. Usually at the ends of scenes, if someone was storming out or something, they'd say something that, if you thought about it, had an extra little meaning. Did you notice any of these?
Not really, no.
Oh,
but
I wish
I'm
I'd written them down. Bloody hell. Oh, I don't know.
Just a couple more things. And this is largely, I should mention, the article's by Robert Corber, who's a professor who writes a lot about LGBT stuff in films.
Yeah.
Which feels like cheating. I won't do it again. But
Oh, you're allowed to read around, right?
yeah, he pointed out, yes, just a couple of things of like, when Margot was walking up the stairs, she said, she gave the speech of like, Eve would take my clothes off, tuck me in, wouldn't you, Eve? And then Eve says, if you would like, and then Margot's like, I would not like. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of it's quite close to getting to like on the nose. And also when Eve first moves in, Margot's giving the voiceover and she says, yep, she moved in, this was the honeymoon period of like.
Yeah. And it's just like in The Haunting, in which we had like another character that was saying some sort of nasty coded stuff about how the other person was lesbian, all of which I missed at the time. It's really sinister hearing it, sort of spotting that now, if indeed that's what's going on there.
Yeah, it's open to interpretation.
God.
Well, apparently the director and writer conceived of Eve as gay.
Right.
Yeah. But I just heard that from a source, so I don't know. That was a different source. I don't know if that's true or not.
Okay, we never know this.
Yeah, no.
It did seem like she was willing to seduce men if that got her where she needed to be.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But I think by the end we conclude that she at least never loved any of them.
They also, the article that I read, points out that she's being kind of like husky and seductive with the young woman. When she says, when the woman, she's saying, how will you get home? And the woman, Phoebe or something.
Yeah, Phoebe
at
at
the
the end.
Oh, I'll just hop on a train. And then Eve is like, oh, we won't be home till all hours. Remember?
Yeah.
Subtle.
Maybe that just doesn't do it for me, but...
No, that's not. You saying you won't be home until all hours. Which is,
What exactly does that mean?
But baby, it's cold outside.
Oh, as if asking her to stay.
It's really subtle.
Yeah, that would...
But the way she says it, when she's smoking, she's lounging on the couch, she's got her husky voice on suddenly.
Sure.
Yeah. I
whispery
bought
voice.
into that. I was like, yeah, okay, I can see that. I can see that.
Wow.
There was something else with that though, I can't quite remember now. But there was... So where I was pressing you, Fernando, on like her maybe falling for, what was her name, Yvonne or something? Phoebe, yeah. Whether she saw it as someone she could take advantage of. And I didn't necessarily see it as a sexual thing, but someone she could exploit in the same way she'd sort of allowed herself to be taken advantage of to get where she wanted to be. But since she knew about it, whether she could just use that.
Right.
So I think I felt more like it was that sort of exploitation that was suggested to me, but yeah.
But Phoebe was trying to exploit Eve as well, wasn't she? They both were just doing what they wanted to do to get ahead.
Yeah.
Am I right that Phoebe was the new Eve and Eve was the new Margot?
Yeah, I think that was...
Yeah,
okay.
that was implied, I think, heavily.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she lied to Addison, didn't she? About Phoebe being there.
Yeah. Little Phoebe lied about...
Yeah, that's what it was. It was Phoebe lied about the taxi driver.
Yeah, lied about the taxi driver.
Yeah, why? That's strange.
Maybe just to not... Yeah, who knows what she was trying to do.
Well, maybe just to show us, as in the viewers, to make it clear that she was evil.
Okay.
Yeah, that she wasn't trustworthy. Maybe.
Yeah, simple as that. Of course. Yeah.
Apparently, Eve contradicted a lot of the ways that sort of gay people had been portrayed up until that point.
Okay.
In that she was quite normatively feminine.
Right.
Which obviously you've got the stereotype of like butch lesbians.
Yeah, sure.
Which would be more homophobic portrayals. Not that this was less homophobic, but
Okay.
they had to be more careful about how they portrayed, I think.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So we see her at the start, and when she's in the trench coat, she's in a very masculine outfit. She's got the hat on.
Did.
It's a man's coat. And then everything she wears after that is extremely feminine.
Yeah,
Well, not extremely feminine, but as feminine as the other characters, which is kind of like she's performing this. Because everything she does after that is her performance.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
I can get that.
Yeah. See that?
So, I don't know if any of this ties in, but one thing I spotted watching it was that it was weird that Marilyn Monroe just turned up for like a couple of scenes. But she was remarkably like Eve. Like, those two characters in my head so they were both like remarkably good looking and had the same breathy voice and they were both quite obedient sort of thing. They were sort of, it was as if they just found themselves there and they were sort of following around these big successful people. And Marilyn Monroe is like this feminine ideal, and it was as if they were like comparing her to her, which maybe ties in a bit with that.
But perhaps the difference was that Marilyn, or Miss Caswell, was not secretly manipulating people to get ahead. So she ended up just not doing all that well, and then she was out of the film. How famous was Marilyn Monroe by this point?
Not famous. This was one of her earliest films.
Oh, okay.
Because I wasn't sure if it was a cameo by the famous actress. No, it was just
her starting out, basically.
Okay.
Okay, so that doesn't work at all.
Next time, Some Like It Hot. Which I've never seen.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Awesome.
She's so pretty, though.
Famously.
You know,
that might be a controversial opinion.
I've mostly only seen her in, like, documentaries and stuff. And I've always been surprised how not pretty she is. She's just sort of weirdly fake and somehow sinister looking. But in this film, when I saw her, I thought, oh, that's Marilyn Monroe, and oh, yes, I can see why people said she was so beautiful. Unfortunately, I think she was more beautiful than Eve, which I think she wasn't maybe supposed to be. It's a shame when the script sort of requires people to be more or less good looking than they are.
So that was one thing that confused me at the start, because I knew Betty Davis was in this, but I didn't know who Betty Davis was.
I didn't know.
And I assumed she was just one of the two pretty women at the start.
Same.
And then it turned out she was the...
she was the other woman.
The old, like...
Most of the way through that Eve was Betty Davis.
Oh. Have you heard of Betty Davis?
No.
Is it Betty or Bet?
Betty.
Betty, okay.
So it's spelt
Bette. So it should be Bet, but it's
Betty Davis.
all the songs say Betty Davis.
Betty Davis eyes.
She was a very famous actress from back then, and I guess a bit before.
Yeah.
But I'd never seen her in anything. I didn't know who she was until the end, when it was like, oh, and this was Betty Davis. Like, oh, that was Betty Davis. I'd forgotten.
It just seems so strange that she was like the aging sort of less pretty one. She was on the decline.
I take it she'd been in...
Who was she?
Margot.
Oh.
Yeah. No idea. Interesting thing that I think has changed over the years, I guess. They make a few references to all these old actresses who keep getting roles for roles that are meant to be far younger than them, but they just get their teeth into them and no one can push them out because they're so famous. And I think we really have the opposite problem now, right? Where as women get older, they can't find roles and are even sometimes told that they're too old to play roles that are actually the same age as them, because we want younger actresses on screen, or audiences or directors or whoever.
Often a 20-year age gap between a husband and wife.
Yeah.
Supposed to have been at high school together.
Yeah. So I think it maybe is still true for male actors, but it was interesting to see that at least from this film's point of view, that that was the case for actresses as well.
But then Betty Davis's career did sort of die after this one.
Right, because she was too old.
Yeah.
No more roles.
Don't make a film about being too old. Then complain that everyone says you're too old.
Yeah.
Oh well, I'm sure she just focused on being a woman after that.
Did she have children to focus on? Because
Yeah.
that is the current Twitter storm. So what do
No
women
idea.
in their 40s do if they don't have children to look after?
Yeah.
What did we think of this? Her whole speech about focusing on just being a woman after this, because she had a lot of rambling speeches in this.
Yeah,
But there was this one where she just talked about how she just wanted to be a woman, and sooner or later every woman has to.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't quite understand what she was getting at.
I really think it was because of the gay coding that they felt that they had to put that in, because it didn't make sense for the character or for the plot or for anything else. It sort of stood out as weird for this character to go on this sort of spiel about marriage. It felt deliberately shoehorned in there as like part of the sort of symbolic progression. What do you think, though, Fernando?
I can point out I think that Margot was meant to be like a successful woman, right? I can point out another woman that was successful in real life. Her name's Lorena Ochoa. I know her because she's Mexican, and she was number one for almost her entire career, and her picture is here in the Hall of Champions in St. Andrews. And I was watching one of her interviews, and she did say that as she progressed in her career, and basically she was looking at her colleagues, and she realized that most of them were not married and did not have children. And she said, and that's when I knew that, they were asking her why she retired, and she said, that's when I knew that I did not want to end up like them.
Oh.
And that I wanted to have my own family and my own children.
Oh, meaning people who'd had successful careers but did not end up having children of their own.
Yes.
Okay.
And I was shocked by that comment. Like, whoa.
Wow.
So I just think that maybe there are some women that do value highly having a family and children, maybe for different reasons, maybe for religious reasons or other reasons. I think some people, some women like that, and some women say, no, maybe I should just be more independent and have my own career. And that is why it is my opinion that Margot in this case falls in that category of women that even though they have their own successful career, they're like, well, it's time for me to start my real woman life.
It's a patriarchy.
Well, no, that's
we can
her
play
own.
it being successful for a while, but sooner or later we have to admit we're women.
Yes.
I think there are. I think that's a good example of
Yeah.
that in real life. It does happen. It just sucks that women have to be defined by that decision. Where men can have a family and it doesn't biologically change the path of their career and stuff like that.
Yes, I mean, I would want to have a family of my own as a higher priority than having a successful career. But historically, men have not really had to make the choice. You can do both. Whereas now, for example, if Claire and I have children sometime...
this is the appropriate forum for this conversation.
Well, we've talked about all this. But nowadays, there's no requirement that Claire would be the one to give up on her whole career and quit the whole thing. But there might be more of a expectation.
Well, there would definitely be consequence. Like, I couldn't work in a lab while I was carrying a child. And I would have to do the whole giving birth thing. So it would be like a year out of my career.
And if you look at maternity leave for women and paternity leave, like,
so university,
that's a natural expectation that women are going to want, the months, and men get 2 weeks. So we're still thinking, you're going to take care of the child.
I think the university allow you to split it however you want.
Yeah, it's getting better. Like some
Yeah.
employers do let you change it.
I guess what I'm trying to say is I can see that she might have that point of view because I share that point of view for myself, and if I were in the same situation, I think I would want to start a family rather than have a successful career, and that may well be a choice that I do make in my life.
I suppose what made it seem like it wasn't a natural choice was the words that she put it in, which was that you can't be a woman without a man, and I've put down all these things that make me a woman, forgetting that I'd have to pick them up again later. Sort of making womanhood exclusive with having a career. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Actually, to define who she is by it. Yeah, okay. Because to start with, I just didn't know what she was rambling on about. I just thought it was another madcap speech that didn't really go anywhere. But
I enjoyed her madcap speeches.
I did as well. Well, she played it so well.
Yeah.
But I did think all the way through, oh my God, I would never be friends with her.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. Like,
I'd go to
unbearable.
one party with her and I would never see her again. Like, I don't care how famous she is.
Did you enjoy her not eating the chocolate while she was fighting with... What was it, Bill?
Bill. And then she did have a chocolate.
Oh, yes. Yeah, desperately just looking for something to be doing with her hands. So, yeah, and that seemed to be a little key to her just being out of control. Just storm over here, down a cocktail, storm over here, grab a couple of chocolates, throw them down his throat, leap onto a sofa and throw things everywhere. Very, what's the word? I don't know what the word is, yeah.
I must know what's the word.
Very Margot.
Dramatic.
Bill turned out to be a surprisingly good egg.
Yeah, he was alright.
He seemed like a bit of a dick all the way through.
Yeah.
Oh, he did love her in the end.
Yeah. Again, the throwing her on a bed and shouting at her on stage.
Yeah.
Not great.
So this was my question. I think you had some thoughts on it. Were we just supposed to think that's normal? Yeah, obviously, like he's her boyfriend. Of course, he picks her up and uses his
gives her a
his
slap
strength,
around and keep her in line.
Shakes her occasionally. Is that just now that we're seeing that and going, oh, that's a bit gross and horrible?
Yeah. I think so. I think that wouldn't have raised an eye.
Yeah. Okay.
Brow? I almost said lid. Sorry.
Ow. Yeah, you say raise an eyebrow, don't you?
I'm not sure though, but yeah, I think probably it's a presentist to look back and think.
Bat an eyelid.
Bat an eyelid. That's it.
Thank you.
Bat your eyebrow.
It was interesting how chilled out he was. He had this personality when talking to her that he was just completely patient and totally unfazed by what she was saying, and just letting her have a little tantrum and just trying to rise above it all. And then suddenly he would just snap and be like, right, that's enough. What the hell are you talking about? Give her a good shake, push her around a bit. It was just interesting that he would change just like that, as if he sort of had these, yeah. But yeah, maybe we shouldn't read into the physical aspect of it.
It's just so sad because Margot was so strong a character and so powerful in her own way, and then just because of the time, you just accept the man's superior physical strength, and he's allowed to knock you around, and that's.
And unfortunately, he was the sensible one.
He was the nice one.
He was the one that was actually speaking some wisdom and some sense. And I think we were
that being
supposed
said, he was constantly telling her how paranoid she was.
Yeah,
and she wasn't being paranoid.
It's paranoid tendencies.
I'm still saying she didn't have anything to go on. She happened to get lucky.
Doesn't matter. She was right.
That's very important because she might do it again. Yeah, I think she was just jealous, and for all the wrong reasons, she mistrusted someone who ended up being, as it turned out, untrustworthy. Yeah. And I don't think much of her.
Oh, she had her.
Something about the past that I really like, and I wonder at what point it stopped being like that. Is that I can't remember what couple it was. It was probably Margot and
Bill?
Yeah, maybe, but maybe it wasn't. She picks up the phone, and then he also is in the same room, but in his own bed.
Yeah.
And I was like, what an excellent idea.
Oh, so they both have a...
No, they both have their own bed. Which is something that I also, when I went to the Yacht Britannia, I think, in Edinburgh, and you can see that the Queen has her own bed.
Oh yeah, with Karen and Lloyd. They were in the same room. Yeah,
they were
different beds.
Yeah,
yeah, that was surprising.
I think that was quite common.
Yes, I believe that was common in the past.
Yeah,
and I was like, what an excellent idea. I mean, yes, you sometimes want to sleep well with someone else, but gets tired some, and you want to go back to your
summer. When it's hot and
it does seem a bit cold though, doesn't it? Like, I'll sleep over here. All the way over here.
Phone me if you need me.
Yeah. You ever watch The Crown, the Netflix series?
I've seen bits of it.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, they sleep in
does that
like
happen
totally
as well?
different
Exactly,
rooms.
yeah, the Queen and the Duke. Yeah, they're in
Mm-hmm.
different rooms with a long corridor in between, so they can actually see each other's beds directly opposite each other, but they have to walk through 2 rooms to get to the other one. There's one scene where they wake up in bed together and the Queen goes, "Oh, I've woken up in this one again." It's very sweet. Do you know the first TV series?
Yes.
You know this because I've already said it before. The first TV series in America to show a couple in bed together in prime time.
What one?
It was the Flintstones.
Oh, that's surprising.
Fred and Wilma.
Oh.
You mean the animated version of Flintstones? What?
So the two of them, they shared a double bed, and that was the first time that had ever been shown. And I guess because they were cartoon characters, it was a bit less less frowned upon.
That was prehistoric, though, wasn't it?
It's true.
Pre-Christian.
It's not clear whether the Flintstones are Christian, is it?
Definitely Protestant. There's no way American primetime would have accepted anything else.
Yeah. I think that's everything I've got written down.
Yeah, I don't have many.
I have one more thing. It was a metaphor for the Cold War.
Oh, I like it. Oh,
Right.
what on earth are you
With
talking
the gay
about?
coding. Right, so
Right.
the reason that why Eve was so threatening, according to Robert Corber,
Oh,
for the
right.
journal. I'm sorry, I know this doesn't count as so I didn't think of this at all.
Did you just print out the paper and bring it on?
I took extensive handwritten notes based on the
Was Margot Jesus? And
Yeah,
Bill was
No,
John
Margot
the
was
Baptist.
I forgot
Who was Kevin?
Moby Dick.
Sorry, go on.
He was Captain A. Anyway.
She was definitely the white whale. Just saying. Just because Captain Ahab or Margot was paranoid didn't mean she wasn't a threat.
Yes.
Sorry,
Very good.
continue.
Yeah, so the fear of the Cold War was that they could live among you. You know, the enemies.
Oh,
Live among you
yeah.
as spies. And that's why
Communists in our
Eve
midst.
was like the threatening lesbian. It was a change from the very obvious bush lesbians of past film representations because she could impersonate this perfect.
Oh,
she was
infiltrating our
straight passing, yeah, apparently. No.
Seems really
It does seem a bit contrived. Doesn't it?
that's relying on this thing, which I'm not even totally sure about the whole gay coding thing.
But you know,
No,
I don't think you can
not
argue that you
entirely.
weren't allowed to represent gay people, obviously, and the representing a gay person subtly such that you can't actually tell they're gay counts as the same, like, you can't say, oh, she's so subtly gay that that's the point, but they're not allowed to show that she's gay.
But that is the point. No, that's it.
If they were going to have it be gay at all.
Watch the celluloid closet, alright? Because then that would convince you.
Okay.
I've read extensively about it for my film degree.
I think even if we can believe that she was coded as gay to get around this thing, we can't say that. I think what you're saying. We can't say that because it had to be subtle. It was illegal for them to do it not subtly. So we can't say they probably did it subtly so that she would represent communists.
And full training.
That just seems way too far.
Alright, see what you mean. No, she was so threatening.
She was so threatening, and she was
Because she was seducing the obviously
seducing
heterosexual
the worker.
woman. Right? We even have the scene in the airport, right, where they're kissing goodbye, and Eve's just staring at Margot, and then she goes up to her and she almost touches her. Remember this?
No.
She wasn't staring at them.
She was
She
staring at
appeared
Margot.
and said something, and then they
No,
stopped kissing.
when he's about to get on the plane. The next one. She interrupts someone first, and then he's about to get on the plane, and then she's just staring. And she does look away a bit when they're kissing, so she's very uncomfortable. But then... hang on.
That's just more subtle, more obvious that she's communist.
She was staring.
She was uncomfortable with this.
And she looks away. Nice.
They both can tell us there's two pieces of evidence that she's supposed to represent the Soviet Union.
That's a classic
Bill
Russian
says,
tactic.
Look after her, won't you? Keep an eye on her. And then Eve's like, oh, I will. And then they walk away arm in arm, and then the next thing is Margot saying, oh, we were in our honeymoon period now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Rest my case. What's a wrap?
Yeah, good stuff.
She's true.
I think you had a few very good ideas written down there, and I thank you for sharing them with us.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced by the last couple.
That's everything on the list.
Yeah. Oh, did I have one more thing? These are fairly
Do you have
minor
any
things at this
closing
point.
remarks, Fernando?
No, I think I've said everything that I want.
Okay.
Do you need to have a blood test before you can get married?
Dunno. Did they mention it?
I'm not sure if you have to get a blood test. Maybe some states do require a pre-nuptial health examination.
Okay.
I think it is quite popular, or at least it is becoming quite more popular to get like medical results, so that you can show your partner that you.
I'm trying to trick them.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense. Just Bill and Margot, they said, we're going to City Hall tomorrow and we're going to register to get married and stuff. And then they said, oh, well, this won't be the actual ceremony, but we just need to wait a few more days for the blood tests to come back.
Oh, okay.
And I thought, what on earth's that? But yeah, maybe that gives us some kind of general health check before you go into a marriage.
Maybe it's checking she's not pregnant.
Oh, there's a thought. Can you do that by blood?
That's how you test.
Alright.
You test the fetus's blood and then you know whether it's there or not.
Shut up. Are you making this up?
Not last bit, yeah.
Okay, but you can tell from a woman's blood whether she's
Yeah,
pregnant.
you tell by the hormone levels.
Sure, okay. Good stuff.
A urine test isn't conclusive.
Okay, that's just an indicator, yeah.
Wait, so if the urine test says that you are pregnant, you could still not be pregnant?
I heard it was unlikely to be a false positive, but it could be a false negative.
Okay.
I learned this from Lost.
Interesting.
So it's obviously true. The doctor character says it.
Oh.
But either way, a blood test is almost always correct.
I think so.
More likely, yeah. Last thing is the very last shot of the film, where she's holding the prize, and there are all of these views in the mirrors. Firstly, an amazing shot, and second, an incredible achievement to do that without showing the camera.
Yeah.
I don't know how they did that, and I thought it was really impressive.
Yeah, I did notice that, like, even just when she was in that mirror at the start, when Eve was looking in that mirror, I thought it was impressive that you
Was
didn't
that a
see-
three-sided mirror?
Yeah, it's the same mirror
Oh.
at the start of that scene. And then she goes back with the award.
Oh, I see.
Phoebe goes and stands with the awards.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was impressive.
Good stuff.
It's obviously meant to represent the three faces of lesbianism.
Possibly the first three leaders of the Soviet Union.
Which one was the goat? Okay.
Oh, Animal Farm next. We'll read into that like hell.
I don't believe that was about the Cold War.
Come on, some nonsense. Oh, Animal Farm's about communism.
Shall I play the music?
Why not?
Has anyone got
We're
any
all-
thoughts?
I think I'm good.
Thumbs up?
Thumbs up from
Thumbs
me.
up.
Yeah. Good film.
4 thumbs up. Once a wrap.
Oh, I'm never going to get to watch Legend. This was the first
You
film.
can just watch films.
Yeah. This was the first film that I picked for Film Club that I haven't seen before picking it.
Wow.
Okay.
All the other ones I've seen.
Interesting.
Thought it was more interesting. Apparently.
Ole!
Yay!
Not me.
Oh.
No, I voted for it. Who's it gonna be?
Oh, it's
Fernando.
Michael.
Ah, it's me! Thank you. My film choice is The Time Machine. That is the 1960 version. Not, I repeat, not the 2002 version with Samantha Mumba.
Not.
Not that one, the 1960 version.
Okay. So we're going to be looking for allusions to homosexuality.
I guess so.
Yes, we are.